Hey guys, this is Simon from Fateless. I know I'm Hell Hades, but today I am Simon and I've got a really exciting video for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about IP and we're going to be talking about art, specifically around how we're building our concepts. I'm going to take you on this kind of like whole world of mood boards, concept art, and working from like initial vision of a character right the way through to how we kind of bring that to life in different phases. So going to be a really cool video. Now, we've said we're going to be upfront with you guys right the way through this project, yeah? So we're showing you things way ahead of probably when we should be showing them. We're showing you some concepts and prototype stuff early on. And that might mean that we take a few slaps around the chops where it's kind of like, look, this stuff's not finished. And some people might just be disinterested. But we want to keep going in that vein. Now, IP's been a kind of like a big talking point throughout the community. We have had a couple of challenges with IP, I'm not going to lie. Firstly, there was a couple of companies that decided that Fateless were too new as a business, as a game studio, to work with us. We presented too much of a risk to their company, and they decided that actually, despite liking the project and liking our approach, they weren't going to work with Fateless, which was a shame. We then went on this kind of like road of working with a couple of IPs right the way through to kind of like legal conversations, pretty deep. And in the end, we've got to this position where we feel like the restrictions they're trying to put on us as a studio are not right for the community and they're not right for us. So actually, we're going with our own IP, which we're super psyched about, which is going to be myths and legends of old in all different origins. So I'm going to walk you through what that's going to look like. I'm going to talk you through our first kind of like faction that we started to flesh out and one of the main concept heroes for that. But we believe this is absolutely the right path for the game. So I guess the cool thing about going in this direction is it's pretty much like us going with a really well-known IP. In fact, most of the gods, the myths, the legends of old are some of the real origins for the big IPs which exist today. So when we're bringing out characters, and the main reason we wanted an IP was that we wanted to create characters that you would love to collect. And we think we're going to absolutely nail that with this direction right now. Because we're not spending the millions of dollars on an IP, we're actually able to work with some really cool people in the industry to produce something which we think is going to be a far better gaming experience. We brought on a concept artist in Fateless's team, as well as employing more artists with Magic Media. And we've also brought on a narrative writer. In fact, it's one of the writers for the World of Warcraft Classic game. So he was around when WoW Classic was coming through, and he was one of the narrative writers for those. We are working up some really exciting storylines, lore, etc. for our game. That's going to be a separate video, but we're able to kind of like reinvest some of that cash into other areas as well. So yeah, so working through this story, we're looking to bring something to life which basically envelops you as a player. What we will do when we start to kind of like drop some of the storytelling and the lore through these type of videos, we'll probably bring you some little short stories, some little clips around the type of direction we're going in. We'd love to get your feedback when that comes through. I'd also love to hear your feedback around this kind of like change of direction. One thing that it does lead us to do, it leaves a door wide open once our game launches with this type of kind of myths and legends approach to work with well-known IPs to do short-term collaborations. And we've already got a couple of those which are interested when we launch. So that type of thing is still on the cards and actually really exciting as well. So I'm going to take you on a whistle-stop tour of the art that we're doing, but just, I guess, rest assured, we want to maintain full control of this game. We want to make sure that we develop a game that the community will love, and that's why we've gone in this direction. So this is our kind of like art mood board. I showed you some of this stuff early on around this kind of like almost like fairy tale and dark fantasy style artwork. This was some of our very early stuff. If I zoom out, you'll see that we've actually got a lot of mood board planning here, and then I'll take you through some of our actual character designs as well. But I'll talk you through why we're doing the mood boards we are. So what we're looking at is other great art which people have done. Yeah, so this is kind of like the mood board think tank area. And it's like, why are some of these images really great and how did they fit with our game? Why are some of the images like really drawing you in and making you have a certain feeling about a character or a hero or what have you? So Dane, who is our lead concept artist for our game, is basically pulling together a load of very cool artwork, which is currently out there, but giving Magic Media real direction around what's good about the art and what's not. So I can kind of walk you through, because the first character I'm going to show you is actually going to be concepts for Odin. Some of the kind of, I guess, initial work we did around understanding the character, understanding some of his quirks, some of his lore, the weaponry he uses, and we start to understand him as an entity so that we can then design our own version, and put our own spin on things. Honestly, just tons of cool art. I love this part of this job. Yeah, we've got kind of like this almost Cheeto style, this is obviously not for Odin, it's for different types of characters, but basically what we're doing is we're overloading Magic Media with visual references of stuff we love. We've also got this kind of like character design feedback sheet where it's like, okay, from games that we play, which characters do we love the visual of and why? Which characters do we dislike the visual of and why? Yeah, and we kind of go into that. And then Dane created this mood board here of basically different art styles, which are all extremely cool. And we basically kind of walked through, okay, well, why are you drawn to certain characters? How can we recreate that type of feel in our game? So you kind of got this almost barbarian style Skeletor up here, who looks freaking sweet, by the way. Very different art style again, but we've almost got this kind of like vampire style, almost like a classic vampire. Very different art style, probably moving a little bit more towards anime than we would use, but still striking. It's the kind of artwork, the lighting, the line work. Again, very different art style, but super sweet, kind of like barbarian female, very strong, awesome sword, almost like oversized cloak, oversized sword. And again, we're just kind of like talking through, why are these interesting? Why are they cool? This is one of my favorites. This kind of like druid. You could see her as a healer or a support type champion in a game that we're looking to develop. Very mysterious. But what we're looking at is, what's making her interesting? Things like the finer details. The actual character model, interesting in herself, but it's the finer details that we love in this style of game. So when we get these type of mood boards, we're really kind of working with Magic Media to explain what we want. Yeah. And then Dane pulled together this really cool depiction of one character going from rare to epic to legendary in both a dark version, so like an evil version, and a light version. And what we were talking through here is like, how do we make sure that the player understands when you get that step up? And a lot of the time it's fairly unique elements to their character. Yeah, so whether it's this kind of like insane shoulder pad with this kind of like blood raven coming off of it, with this kind of like ethereal animals dancing around her, where I'm going with this, almost like a smoky kind of feel to them, very unique armor style, very, very cool weaponry. Yeah. Versus the original version of the character, which still looks pretty badass, pretty cool, but obviously much more toned down. And then exactly the same character then like ramped up in a kind of like a light version. So still a similar feel, basically the same characters, but done in a way with color schemes. Instead of like jagged, spiky edges, we've now got this kind of like feathered edge. And this is the type of thing that we're working with Magic Media on to make sure that when we create the characters we want, we get the right sort of art style. We are using some AI to generate concepts. So, we were kind of like working on AI generated imagery. It's like, okay, what do we like? Create us 40 Odin on different styles through AI. Make sure that we got the right type of base anatomy of their build. Understand some of the key characteristics for this champion, and make sure that we're feeding it with enough cool elements that we get some type of mood board back for one champion. Yeah, so we get that. Then we get the artist step in, and it's like, right, from what we liked about some of the AI stuff, let's actually do some unique art. Yeah, so we've got this kind of like initial naked Odin. It's like, has he got the right type of structure, the right type of power about him? Does he feel right for our game? Bearing in mind, this would be a legendary champion, okay? It's like, okay, once we've got a nice feeling here, let's do a bit of an overpaint with some clothing that could work. And we actually had numerous different versions of this. And then it's like, and how do we then put the adornment on so that it actually feels like it's a unique character? You know, it feels like it's his own armor, it's his own wear, I guess. When we like the concept, we then push into, let's go into the next stages. So it's like, right, well, give me a back view. Does this strike what we're looking for? Let's have a couple of alternatives. We actually ended up with 3 alternatives here of the champion as he could be. We then look at, okay, well, let's talk about what do we need? We need a weapon. We need like a cool kind of portrait feel. And we're toying with the idea of, you know, either covering the eye like we would see in a lot of versions of Odin, or potentially just going with the socket with the kind of like strike through it, or potentially a merge of the two. But super sweet, like visuals. This is all kind of like now concept art, which has been done by Magic Media. We still feel like we need to beef up the weapon a bit, and obviously there'll be more like an ethereal glow to the weapon and stuff, but gives you a feel for what we're going for. But then like, well, what depicts, you know, it's Odin, and he has abnormally big ravens, for example. He has 2 wolves. They're all named characters, so they could be their own character in the game, their own champion, or they could be part of his kit. So we're talking about, do we actually want a physical raven in the game to be alongside him? Or do we want there to just be an animation of spell, which is like a raven attack, something like that? So just understanding the lore, understanding the backstory of some of these myths, these gods, these legends, really helps us to bring them to life in the game that we're creating, and making sure that we pull in, I guess, as much of the lore and storytelling that we can to make it super cool. So you can kind of see some of the artwork for that here, and then a couple of different kind of versions of weaponry and stuff like that as well. You know, this concept doesn't just finish with Odin. We've got other heroes that are being developed, both from common right the way through to legendary, so you can kind of get a feel for that type of stuff as well. And then once you get past concept, now we don't have Odin at this stage yet, but you kind of go into very basic line art drawing so that these characters can then be, it's called being baked. Basically, they get turned into a rig, which is like a 3D animation model. The 3D animators, they need very basic line drawings to get that done. So we kind of had an original line drawing. It's like, well, let's tidy that up. Let's make her feel more desirable as a collector piece character. Let's make sure that we've got, you know, the right proportions. Let's make sure that we really like the kind of armor style. And then this will go and be baked into a 3D model. And then we can start to add these characters into our prototype. So there's a ton going on, you know, from concepts through to final designs. And I just wanted to share with you kind of the direction we've gone in, because for me, it's better. Like, we've got way more creative freedom. This will be a game where there's just characters that you know and love anyway, but we've got all of that without the restriction of some of the things that we were having to deal with some of the IPs that we were talking to. So ultimately, I'm really, really psyched about the direction for characters, character collection, and for kind of like how we're working with the Magic Media team to bring this to life. I can't wait until we get into this kind of, you know, oh man, there's so many cool kind of different mythologies that we can tap into and unlock to create awesome heroes and characters that you will know from different mythologies. And we might even end up with characters with candles on their heads. So look, that's going to be it for this video. Make sure you have yourself a great Christmas and New Year. I really hope that you like this direction. We want it to be as upfront, as honest as we have been all the way through. But yeah, leave us a comment down below. Let us know what you think. Anyway, I've been Simon from Fateless, otherwise known as Hell Hades. I'll see you soon.